What's up, Alphas? It's your boy Alphas, mate, and it's your music theorist. As you can see, this is Keep an Eye on a Movie and TV Theorist. We in the director's chair now. We're getting to the mind of the artist. We're going to try to break down as an author, give you a different perspective than you have on all these shows, and try to break down what they mean culturally, psychology, education-wise, and everything for the culture and what it means for everybody else, whether it's Game of Thrones, movies, TV shows. So as you see at the bottom of the screen, if you have any ideas, email it to us at overall99ent@gmail.com. Check us out at overall99media.org. And the whole point of this is to break down these shows, and y'all can suggest shows, movies, and stuff like that from there, or you can just go in the comments and suggest them too. I will look for both ends. But we do have a whole segment out for you because today's episode is about power, and it's about Tariq and Kanan, and how we watch these two young men grow up in an environment where they're kind of Nepo babies, but they're in the hood, but curated a nice psychological breakdown for us. So we will break this down. As you see, they were born into it. Power, psychology, and the making of Tariq St, Patrick, and Kanan Stark. A look at how environment, trauma, and a big shot parent shape a kid on and off screen. Of course, this is like Keep an Eye on that. Same street, same blueprint. That's the thesis of this whole segment. Both boys grew up with a parent who is powerful, respected, feared in the game, rocking Ghost. Both learned early that love and business run through the same person. Both are surrounded by real danger. Violence isn't a plot device, it's a daily weather, which trains the nervous system to treat threat as a normal, not exceptional. The emphasis is they're kind of sociopaths, psychopaths in a way. And I wanted to just discuss this because I think it's so important that this culture that is created from these two, and a lot of people from the hood, if you're not from it, and how this creates a certain aspect that I find 50 Cent represented well through producing these shows. He does a great job of just explaining to you and putting it in action of things he grew up with, because this is his life in a way, not quite the same, but same danger, same aspects. It's similar because he grew up with a person who was in a group in a gang, and he was betrayed, and the whole 50 shot thing, and everything he went through. He became a rapper after, and he got successful, and he shows a little bit into his mind state on how he felt about it, and it shows an interesting perspective because you never get a perspective of a kid that is a gang leader's child, and he does this a lot in his tropes because a lot of the main people are gang leaders' children. So in this case, most of the shows you see are like people who became that way through grind or something. This is a different path, and I thought it was so interesting to talk about. The show's own writers have said that nature versus nurture story on purpose. What do these choices make for kids' own good actually do to them? The want, as you saw with Kanan, as you see with Tariq, is the want to be that next guy, that next person, that next parent, and be the person, live up to that expectation. You see it with Kanan with Defcon, and you see Tariq with Ghost, and his mom encouraged him to do it, and Rock actually tried not to encourage him to do it, but he still does it. And you see it with other people like D-Money and other people who go through the similar things as you see with Ghost and Tommy's brothers, and how that happened, and how that scenario set him up, and how he wanted to live up to his uncle in that case. But in this case, we're going to stick to two because we can go into a bunch of other characters in this show that has similar backgrounds, or uncles or relatives, even Jukebox in a way. But I want to say that for another one if y'all want to talk about it. But today we're only going to use Tariq and Kanan as a lens, the lens that hold up the real psychology in real neighborhoods. So we're going to break that down for you. First off, part one, we're talking about the family business. Two successful parents, two very different childhoods, they end up in the same place. If you remember, the reason we want to say they're two different, even though they're similar, is Tariq family didn't have to do it no more. Ghost was established enough. He actually tried to get out. So that led to a bunch of disagreements and an interesting place. And we might end up in the exact same place at the end of this show with the parent situation as Tariq's did. So let's go break it down. It started with Kanan Stark, raised inside the business, not just around it. He was born in Queens, 1991. Well, not born, but the show is. The environment his mother Rock is the plug. A queen pin running a growing drug network with her brothers. Kanan doesn't watch the family business from a distance. He inside it from an early teens. Now, you know, if you watch the show, we know Rock didn't want him in it, but he's in it. So what do you do with that? You know what I mean? The formative wound, when he's bullied and comes home hurt, his mother's response isn't comfort, it's a lesson in how to make sure it never happens again. Softness gets phased out early and on purpose. Now, if you don't know the story, because you probably gonna be like, oh, that was at a basketball court. He went home, got bullied, she took him to the basketball court. He didn't learn how to handle bullies. The defining trait, by the time power begins, Kanan's flat, controlled, and unreadable. A mentor who manipulates the way he was once manipulated, treating loyalty as a tool rather than a bond. We're learning straight up how he was raised. And we see in this show, and starting to see a little late in the show, how Kanan became Kanan. Because most of Kanan's show and raising Kanan, he's like unreasonable teenager who's wild and crazy and don't know where to go. But you're slowly seeing, especially after what happened, spoilers for if you haven't seen it, with Uncle Lou, he becomes more colder, more wanting to be more like a character we see Breeze in a way, trying to live up to that, trying to be cool like that. That's the image he wants to be. Get the clothes, get the fly girl, make her do good. We see with Jerica coming soon. And we hope we'll see an origins maybe when we introduce the Ghost and Tommy. Let's talk about the other end. Raised beside the business, but then pulled into it, Tariq St. Patrick. The environment, private school. His mom was the biggest plug, but Tariq was at a bigger point in his life. Private school, a nice house, a father who owns nightclub. On the surface, Tariq's childhood looks nothing like Kanan. The danger is hidden, but it's there, and it eventually finds him. The formative bloom. He learns the truth about his father's double life as a teenager, not a toddler. Different from Kanan again. Old enough to understand exactly what it means and start resenting the lie more than the danger. Wanting to live that double life again, the want to be fit in, to be cool. Rock didn't want Kanan in it. Ghost didn't even tell Tariq he was in it, but it became something, right? Different ways to become it. One saw it from the inside and was like, hey, I can do this too. And the other one said, why you lie to me? I can do this too. And let's talk about the defining trait. Across the spin-off, Tariq becomes increasingly comfortable lying to everyone who loves him. We're talking about the spin-off right here. Treating manipulation as a problem-solving tool rather than a last resort. We still get to that same defining trait. Different way to get there, but the same sociopathic, maybe even psychopathic trait in both of them. Let's talk. Psychopathy versus sociopathy. Let's give these terms some definitions while we're talking about it. Neither term is official clinical diagnosis. The closest clinical label is antisocial personality disorder, but researchers use these two words informally to describe two different roads to the same destination. Let me know in the comments. Do y'all think they fit? Which one do you think Tariq fits, and which one you think Kanan fits, and any other character in the show? Because we're going to learn more about Ghost and Tommy, and we can revisit this in another way. Psychopathic coded. More associated with temperament. Present very early, often before much life experience is to blame. Flat, controlled, low emotional reactivity, come under pressure that will break most people. Calculated and instrumental. Relationships are often functional rather than deeply felt. Again, the ability to use people. Now let's talk about sociopathic tendency, which might fit in another one. One psychopathic, one sociopathic. Let's see which fits this one. More associated with the environment, shaped by upbringing, trauma, and repeated modeling. Do you know somebody like this? Impulsive, reactive, capable of real attachment. Loyalty exists, just narrowly applied. Rule breaking is learned and situational, rationalized rather than simply absent. Meaning is psychopathic tendencies more natural, sociopathic tendencies more environmental, and what causes it. Let me know in the comments who you think and which one Psychology 101 fits each person. This is just like a basic thing for me, the antisocial personality disorder. Now, let's talk about it, and let's apply the lens to it. Let's see what you think about it, but now let's apply the lens that you state in the comments what happened. Kanan reads closer to psychopathic coded. This is what I had from this. Column under the surface. Flat effect, total control, minimal visible remorse by adulthood. But the show goes out of its way to show the making of that mask, a mother who treats vulnerability as a liability to be trained out of him in a world where hesitation gets people ended. That's the writer's point. The calm, controlled fan meets in power was constructed piece by piece out of a kid who started out naive and book smart. It's less born a psychopath and more raised to perform one until the performance become who he actually is. And that's Kanan. And in a way, he resents her for it. That's the whole Raq thing, the invulnerability and everything. Because I often make the excuse for him that he has an irrational hate for his mother, and he does. Let's clear that out. He has a very irrational hate for his mother. But the one thing about him that I can say is that he consistently puts out this trait that might have a little bit of formative years early on in his life. It's not because his mom wanted him to go to school, she wanted him to do good, but she also created the monster when she told him, don't take nothing from nobody, including me. Remember that line. Tariq learned and then practiced most sociopathic. Tariq starts in the spinoff still capable of guilt. He still has guilt from what happened with Ghost. He lied to protect people he loved, which is very different from a psychopath, which is a very different motive than lying to control them. Season over season, the lies stack up and the guilt shows up less. A textbook sociopathic coded art where repeated situational rule breaking slowly breaks and becomes the identity. Unlike Kanan, Tariq had another option on the table. College, a legal path, a mother and father who, however imperfectly, wanted him out of that life. Raq didn't want Kanan in that life either, but Raq was more accepted in his life. Ghost was absolutely against Tariq getting in that life. And I don't think Tasha wanted him in that life either. She wanted Ghost in that life, which was a problem, which probably led to a lot of it and led to what happened at the end of the original Power, but she didn't want Tariq in it. Raq was like, I don't want you in this, Kanan. Go to school, get your education. Okay, but still get your education because we're trying to get out. Different circumstance. That's what makes his art different. It plays less into inevitability and more like a series of choices that got easier to make over time. Yeah, it's learned, they're not practice. Now, let's go off the screen. The show is fiction. The pattern is drawn from art. Like I said, it's the 50 Cent. So let's break that down. Nepotism isn't just a boardroom word. Family business is family business. Whether it's a law firm, a restaurant, or a corner, kids of people in the game often inherit the trade before they ever choose it. Contacts, reputation, and expectation included. Yeah, if you in the game and everybody you know in the game, it's hard not to be in that game. It's hard not to have the connects of your parents. It's not hard not to network with the people your parents are around. And if they got anything, those people are essential to you. It's easy if you don't have nothing because people will just leave you naturally. But if you got something, it's harder to break that trend. Legal and illegal versions run up the same logic. Political dynasties, yes. Medical families and organized crime families all pass down more than money. They pass down a worldview about who you can trust and how the world actually works because they interact. Even Ghost trying to get out still had that same background, the same network, and the way he got it is literally the same way. The way he interacts, the things he do, it's the same way. So when Tariq sees it, that's what he knows. Now, Ghost did a much better job than Raq of hiding it because Raq was actively in it. But it's the same thing with political figures. You network, you meet people, even your parents don't want you. Basketball, sports, you meet the same coaches. You have the ability to do things. That's why now you're starting to see more athlete kids being better. Because even though it's a less hunger in the sport from the poor people, you now have people who's AAU and all that. So now poor kids have a less chance to, but the rich kids have a chance to go to these events that cost so much money and things because it's passed down. Of course, I know a basketball coach that has an AAU team that's really good players on. They found that one poor kid, and he's good, and your kid's good, so they can play together and get better. It's just who you pass it down, whether it's from what field. That's why most people end up in the same area of expertise as their parents in a lot of ways, or in the same tax bracket, because it's hard to break out. Because if you know people, you know people. If you don't, you don't. The kid rarely gets a clean vote. Whether family business is Wall Street on the block, a child's early sense of normal gets set by what their parents does and models, long before they're old enough to even consent to it. What I just said, I don't have to add no more to that. Researchers who study adverse childhood experience, ACEs, have found that repeated exposure to violence, instability, or neglect early in life is linked to higher rates of impulsivity, aggression, and difficulty regulating emotions later on. Separately, studies on community or neighborhood violence exposure show that kids who regularly witness violence can develop a heightened, near constant threat response, useful for surviving the block, costly almost everywhere else. Neither line of research says a rough environment guarantees a particular outcome. What it shows is a dial being turned. Chronic exposure to danger and instability makes certain coping strategies and vigilance. Emotional shutdown control much more likely to develop because they are adaptive to the environment a kid actually have. That's the real version of what the show dramatizes. Kanan and Tariq aren't uniquely broken. They're responding believably to what they were handed. And that's what I want. That's what this whole episode is about. They were handed this life. Despite I have made sure to point out multiple times, neither parent wanted them. Raq was more accepted. Kanan was more entrenched in it, but neither parent. Ghost didn't even tell Tariq. But the environments, the people he's around are still those people. He meets Kanan later on. It makes so much more sense. Tariq meets Kanan. We see how Kanan grow. If Kanan does a certain thing at the end of this show, and it is the same thing that Tariq did at the end of the show, that sets up so much in this. And this makes this whole theorist thing correct. And how in real life this actually happened. How your environment creates what you are because that's what you're used to. This is the place you are at. This is what you do. You don't know anything else. This is who you are at this point. And that's one thing we love about power. But if you look at it from an objective place, you will think the same thing. Environment isn't destiny though. So let's not give complete excuses. We have to break that down. We have to be nuanced. It is not complete destiny. You get genetics, you got environment, and some things you learn on your own. Most kids who grow up around danger, poverty, or a parent in the game do not become Kanan or Tariq. Let's just be honest. The overwhelmingly majority build ordinary, stable, often remarkable lives. The research points to protective factors that change outcomes for real. One, stable adult relationship, community mentorship, access to opportunity, and a way that actually feels reachable. This is something I preach. Even if you don't feel like you're responsible for a child, you're responsible. If you give that one adult relationship, that one person that can change a kid's life, that's important. And if you don't get nothing else out of it, it don't have to be you in the parents' business or nothing. It just listening. Sometimes it's just listening to a kid, a child, a young man that's saying something. Maybe it's making a video like this. Maybe you can show this video to somebody. But that's just a mentor. Access to opportunity. A lot of kids in the hood feel like they don't have a shot unless they make it rapping or doing any kind of music, whether it's singing or playing a sport. They don't feel like they have the opportunity. And that's how they get into it. That's how they go. Like, this is what I do. I remember speaking to a kid I met from Chicago and said, I'm done by 21. I don't care what the results are. That person is very dangerous, and there's no telling what he'll do because he is that dangerous. The reason Kanan and Tariq's stories work as drama is precisely because they're the exceptions being examined, not the rule being confirmed. The show is asking what it takes to push a kid past the tipping point, not claiming every kid tips. Worth saying plainly for the comment section, this is about psychology and storytelling, not a claim about any neighborhood, family, or group of people in real life. Now, I do want to say that it's about being pushed in that direction for multiple reasons. And by the way, the people who Kanan looked to, we're all in that life. Their adult mentorship, we're in that life. Tariq mentorship at the time when he was a teenager, a sponge, was Kanan, which makes this perfect. Kanan, the person who lived this life and became this more psychopathic tendency, taught the sociopaths. And it's like I said, you can't clinically diagnose really a element of a TV show character, but same time. Now, I got some questions for you. I want to know your thoughts on this in the comments. Do you read Kanan as more born that way or more raised that way? And does the show earn either answer? I want to know your thoughts on that. And I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna give you a little time to think about it as you answer them, and then I'm gonna go over the other question. Tariq had an exit ramp Kanan never had. Does that make his choices harder to forgive or easier to understand? Where have you seen a real life version of this? A kid inheriting a family business, it don't have to be gang related, reputation or danger before they could even choose. What's one protective factor, a mentor, a program, a relationship, the YMCA and stuff like that, that could have changed either of their stories? Okay, let's start with number one. I think he was more born that way. He wanted to prove himself. He always wanted to prove himself. That's what it is. And when I say born that way, I'm not completely saying that it was an environment. I'm just saying everybody around him was born that way. Ambitious. From the grandfather who did music that Lou took from, they lived that way. That's their lifestyle they chose. So yeah, I think the show earned that in a way, because he was always going to be that no matter what Rock responded to. And Rock was born that way. So that's how she responded. Tariq had an exit ramp. So question 2, is it hard to choose? Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is, because if I think about how I felt about Tariq at the end of Original Power, not that the ghost form, I started liking him more because his character became more interesting to me. But the Original Power, it was much harder to forgive Tariq. Because I see Kanan as like a stupid kid a lot of times. Like a stupid teenager who just want to live all he know. Tariq has a high quality education. He was in school. He was a straight A student. Not that Kanan wasn't smart either in school. Apparently he was smart in school. Not as smart as Tariq, but still smart. But Tariq had every advantage. It's harder to forgive a person who has every advantage and still choose it over a person who was born there. Like I said, Tariq didn't even know his father was in it. So it's hard to do with Tariq. Let me know your thoughts on that. Have you seen a real life version of this all the time? I don't want to give an example, but yeah, I done seen whether it's family business, reputation, the hood thief, I've seen that, or danger before they choose. Yeah, so I've seen a parent with a gang that basically gang banger. The kid became a gang banger. I've seen multiple people who have family business that they inherited, and I also seen the reputation of being the neighborhood thief and the son become a neighborhood thief. So yeah, I've seen it. What is one protective factor? I said it when I did it. It was the YMCA. Something like the YMCA is always like something they can always like find it, right? It's something I feel like is important to discuss in some mentorship programs. There's a lot of things about it. But let me know your thoughts. This is for that discussion. Y'all can talk about it in chat. I will join you whenever available. But let me know your thoughts. I know Power didn't have an episode this week, so I decided to do something special. And we're probably gonna do more of these. And if you have ideas, see at the bottom, overall 99 at ent@gmail.com. That's where I probably will most likely see it. So there we got 2 avenues for it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you like these shows like this, it's gonna be more of this, more than the other shows. I'm gonna try to cut down on all the other shows, as well as overall 99media.org, in which you can just go check out everything. And if you got a hype button, use it. I appreciate y'all for watching. Don't forget to keep stomping to something amazing happen. Peace.